What's up, family? It's T. Welcome back to the Stop Sinking Show, where we heal what matters to grow what matters. We're here to go from struggle to flow in our life, our businesses, and our relationships. Today, I want to explore the difference in feeling and how we are more adept and how we are built to deal with tragedy. What we are not built for is to deal with malice. We're strong. We can handle most of what life brings us through the means of tragedy. We can handle loss. We can handle death. We can handle illnesses. That doesn't mean it doesn't disturb our spirit or that it's easy to deal with. It just means that we are designed to accept the nature of life. We can accept what is expected. We can manage the symptoms of our mortality in our minds. We can negotiate with ourselves and the temporary nature of everything and allow that to give us peace in the long term over the tragedies that are out of our control. What we are not built for is malice. We're not built for malevolence. We're not built for malintention. We cannot handle the rug being slipped from under us. We cannot handle the deception that is employed by people to compensate for their gaps in mortality, their uncalibrated moral compass. We cannot handle the hurt brought about by the self-serving nature of people, their hunger that overtakes their integrity, the cheating that overtakes the honor of fair play, the lies that evade an attempt to mask the truth. You see, there are unwritten social laws of engagement, agreements upon which we expect to relate, boundaries we don't expect decent humans to cross, honoring and hoping that they honor the sense of well-being that is not good to disturb in others. And we have these social agreements and expect people that they will not trespass on these agreements. The robbing of our peace. We can generally accept much of the differences that we have between people. We can acknowledge, but still maybe distance the ones that we disagree with. We can accept the breaking of some of what is socially accepted. But we cannot walk through life on a daily basis anticipating the most basic parameters of engagement to be violated. We cannot accept or expect to protect ourselves from the evil that lurks within all of us. Because we expect more so that it is kept at bay through the acknowledgement of karma, the principles of religion, culture, upbringing, or just the decency of humanity. We expect more so when we walk through our daily lives that is kept at bay with some of these principle holdings. It is not something that we should even have to entertain or keep on the forefront of our mind. It is too heavy to keep active. We cannot live by so much hurt on a daily basis from our last malevolent interaction to have it harden our hearts. There's a cost to this hardening that isn't worth the squeeze. We cannot live a healthy existence if we walk around with our guards up, expecting the next person to treat us in a way that would violate and shatter our trust. This is why we have these social agreements. But of course, these things happen. And we want to maintain a level of safety from them happening again. We want to protect ourselves. But those guards and walls that we build to keep out those things, the things that hurt us, also keep out the good. And ultimately, no matter how high the walls you build, the snakes will still creep into your garden of safety. And too much safety can only hinder your strength. You have to choose to either be safe or to be strong. So regardless of the actions of another in the past, we must be willing to forego the hurt and to be born again, maybe on a daily basis. Rebirth of your renewed strength and willingness to leave your heart out there on the guillotine again, knowing the risks. prepared to be axed, prepared to be broken. And leaving those who trespass and leaving the dealing of those who break these basic parameters in the hands of God. That's their problem with their God. And it's not in our hands to manage their consequences. So in protecting yourself, as long as you get the lesson out of the specific hurt, and with malice, this can be quite tricky because it leaves you questioning every bit of your interaction and every bit of the motivation of that person. So in most hurts, we can settle them trying to extrapolate some sort of a lesson. And I think we've done a NLP kind of training, little quick part of a podcast in the past where we tried to look at a past hurt and write over it with a marker so we can extrapolate some lesson. So every time we come back to it, it gives us just that lesson, and we can no longer have to load it in our machine and play it over and over again. We can just look at it quickly, have a snapshot, and remember that this is what this meant to me, and I am protected from that lesson. But with malice, it's very tricky to do this because it makes you question a lot of things. But still, as long as you have reflected enough for your psyche to believe that you are protected from letting yourself be taken for a loop in a similar fashion again, you just have to go back out there. You just have to go out there again and let the world get the same chance that a fresh, naive toddler would give it. Because again, what you give up with a hardened heart is far worse than the hurt. It's a cure worse than a disease. You give up a chance to truly exist. You give up a chance to truly live, to truly love. You forego your one shot at this life. And for what? So you can make it safely to the grave? Just let yourself be used up. Even if the user ends up being impure in his intentions. Their short-sightedness does not have to infect your vision. Let yourself be used up. I always say I want to be wrung out at the end of my life. Use me until I am all wrung out. I want nothing left. When I stand in front of God, when I stand in front of you at the end of my life, I want to say I used everything you gave me. And that includes my heart. That includes my soul and every drop of tears, blood, and sweat. Because the alternative is preserving it and meeting the same fate anyway. Who are you saving it for? You see, I struggle with applying these very lessons myself. But I have to anchor myself to my true north. I have to train myself to point towards the ideal. The reality may be different, but my ideal is clear and I know what I'm shooting for. And I have to remind myself these very things, especially when somebody trespasses against me. I also want to give up, shut down, and fault. I cannot find a way to reconcile the time spent with someone that now has to be questioned. Replay all the conversations in my head that now are tainted through the reality which has now shown its ugly face. I can't help but wonder how someone can play such a good actor, or wonder if they just believe their own lies with such fervor. Can't help but have it shake my psyche and flirt with the nihilistic thinking of there's no meaning and there's no honor in any engagement, and entertain whether it would be better for me to be just as self-serving as these people. Just as ruthless with my hunger. Just as willing to displace any other being for what I pursue. But then I remember that my true north would never let my stomach digest the food that's meant to be on someone else's plate. That I get, and I always have gotten, what has my name on it anyway, without ever having to serve myself. My life has shown me this time and time again. I've never had to physically claim what's mine for it to make its way to me. My claim is made by my efforts and the efforts of my spirit, and the universe rushes the fruits to me. We have a saying in my language that translates loosely to every morsel of food already has written on it the name of the person for whom it's meant. There is nothing you can do to stand in the way of the grand plan. So though I struggle when gripped by the pain of the malevolent act, my only solace comes from knowing that no rug from under me can slip away the fortune that is mine to behold. The ill-intended, they can have their slim pickings with their short-term thinking. But what they lose is a lifetime of give and take. What they miss out on is what could have been free and what could have been gotten with ease with no burden on their soul. So it's as much shock as it is to the system. And as much as that shock cannot be softened, the muscle to train is the one that allows us to return to position, to return without loss of hope, the return without loss of enthusiasm, the return without any injury to your capacity to love, the return knowing that this return is all for you because the sideline state is gripped with more misery. It holds more hurt than the one that caused you to retreat in the first place. So although we always expect other humans to operate under this socially accepted rule of engagement, we can become more durable against the ones who carelessly trespass against those rules, to increase our capacity to recover and to reset, but not at the expense of the future. Not for it to be the burden of our next relationship to manage. Not for it to be the hurt that the next person must heal. But more for the price of entry to a life that you would rather not live any other way. Because remaining open, the willingness to be hurt, is the only guaranteed way to feel all of life and ensure the dampening and the avoidance of the hurt doesn't keep out the beauty. The deeper the sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can feel. So be ready and be willing for the guillotine every day. For it is the only way to peace. It is the only way to freedom. It is the only way. I pray for you, my friends. I partly pray that no one may ever trespass against you that causes you to entertain the need for this strength in the first place. But I pray more for you to make it to the other side if and when they do. I pray that you can find it within you to not join them because you can't beat them. I pray that you don't let the self-serving nature of others harden the kindness in yours. The world needs more of you and less of them. I love you always. Until next time, may you be strong in lieu of safety.